Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and we'll be playing a Skaven Civil War, pretty much. It's a free-for-all with 4 factions up against each other on Troll Country. So one of the enemy forces, this is sadly not my build, but this is one of our enemies here, has brought 4 of these Hell Pit Abominations. That is going to be sinking a lot of his money. So in the back he does have a couple more units, some Clan Rats with shields and spears, some Storm Vermin with halberds, so he has big monstrous units and then a lot of shields and spears to counteract other enemy monsters. An interesting build, and he has 1 anti-infantry, Plague Monk, Sensor Bearers here, and then he did bring Quick Head Taker. So this is quite an interesting build. This one is obviously meant to try and take out enemy lords, whereas these big guys are trying to take out squishy infantry blobs. The question is, will it match up appropriately? We can take a look at my build over here. It's a bit of a hodgepodge of forces, but essentially what I'm trying to do is spread out my guys to get a better defensible position. But in essence, my build is going to be centered around having this Grace here with Plague, and I have a couple fodder units because I knew I'd have to hold the enemy at bay. So for instance, I have 2 of these Skaven slaves, and then a couple more with spears. I also brought a single Skaven slave slinger unit because I knew there'd be so many rich targets to shoot at, so I figured I'd have a little bit of something to pluck away at the enemy forces. So that's going to be my front line. In the back line, I do have a couple more units. So the kind of main takeaway is going to be I have, I believe it's 4 of these rat ogres. No, 3 of these rat ogres pushing up, and then 2 poison wind globadiers. So the poison wind are anti-large. Same thing with these rat ogres. They have armor and piercing. So these guys are supposed to take out the enemy big boys, and working together in conjunction going to be pretty powerful. To guard the front, we also have Storm Vermin with halberd because I figured the enemy would bring a lot of monsters. If you're playing a Skaven v Skaven, you expect to bring a lot of that. So 2 Storm Vermin with halberds pushing up through the front, and then I have a bit more going to be held in reserve. Some more Storm Vermin with shield and sword, 1 with halberd, and then Plague Monk with Sensor Bearers. Or Plague Monk, Sensor Bearers, and even more Skaven slaves. So somehow the build I've brought has a lot of forces in it, and it's a pretty balanced build. One of the things you may be noticing here is that it's conspicuous in its absence and in the how kind of quiet the battlefield is. No artillery. So we did, as kind of rules for the battle, go ahead and ban artillery because the map is so small and because we wanted this to play a little bit more strategically. We figured, hey, let's ban artillery, and it forces you to play a little bit differently at Skaven, and it draws out the pace of the battle. We can go over Indy Pride's force, who's going to be over here. So up front, he did actually silver up some Skaven slaves, kind of an interesting way to pile in your money. So he has a front build of, I guess, 2 Skaven slaves, lots of Storm Vermins with shields, and swords, and then some Storm Vermin with halberds. So a pretty elite force. He decided to go with a lot of infantry. In the back, 2 of these Death Globe Bombardiers. These guys are pretty awesome units. So yeah, he's brought a very Storm Vermin heavy build. He has a Warlock Engineer, and also he brought Quick Head Taker as well, trying to duel enemy lords. The last build over here is going to be a bunch of these Clan Rats up through the center. That is something that easily these Hell Pit Abominations could eat up. In the rear, he does have some Death Runners. These guys, when they engage, have armor sundering, so that could be pretty beneficial. Backing that up, Storm Vermin with sword and shield. So yeah, he has absolutely no spears, so this is going to be pretty bad for him. No real way to counter these Hell Pit Abominations besides perhaps getting your Death Runners in here and just absolutely swarming them. So that's why you can see this player coming over here to try and kill him. Although he does have a couple of these Warp Fire throwers. That flame attack can perhaps try and take out these guys. Oh, and he does actually have a Death Globe Bombardier. More anti-infantry than anything, and they're going to be coming up against Indy Pride. So let's watch the charge of these multiple Hell Pits. According to the lore, there should only be 1, but in this case, the Skaven army has been hard at work crafting these abominations. They perfected one and built a lot more of them. He's coming in. Wither is going to get popped, so minus 60 armor on all of these guys. Yeah, this Grace here is going to be freaking awesome. So he's going to come crashing in, but his build in the back with a lot of these spears, he would have loved to have more swords to come in here. Even some rat ogres to knock about these Clan Rats would have been nice. But in the meantime, he's going to get swarmed by Skaven slingers, and some of these Death Globe Bombardiers. And this guy, this Hell Pit Abomination, is going to be wrecked by a lot of troops. He's going after the Warp Fire Thrower, which is a pretty good idea, but he just should have waited for his army to get in play and probably sat back with Hell Pits, waited to charge into the enemy's rear. This is not a good engagement. Meanwhile, over here, I'm pushing forward. I have a lot of units. Because the enemy vacated this position, I'm going to pull up behind him. My goal is to go and wreck him with these Poison Wind Globadiers. Again, these are anti-large, anti-armor. They're going to sneak up behind these Hell Pits and try and sneak some shots into them. I also have this big cluster of rat ogres who I'm going to try and hit this rear line, and then meanwhile I'm going to slowly pluck away at Indy Pride, who's going to try and commit himself to that front. And look how much fire is being poured into those Hell Pits on that side. So that player is wrecking a lot of kills. You know, the Screaming Bell is going to get in here. Slaves are going to pussy on out. And here come my forces on this front. Yeah, this help pit pretty low health, but this infantry is kind of distracted. Clan rats without much going on for them, and the rear ranks are distracted. So this is going to be my bid to try and get a nice, easy kill on the left. You can see me start to target that help pit, but let's watch this. Absolutely destroy these help pits. Coming in all around the side. Vermintide going to be getting off on that side as well. So this is going to get me a lot of easy kills. Meanwhile, I double back on Indy's forces and just start to knock at his Skaven slaves. My Skaven spears are dealing with his Skaven slaves. They would probably trade against my guys, but with the Screaming Bell here, with the Plague Rat's going to be helping out. You know, I'm just going to swarm around Indy's guys and pull out now that his Storm Vermin are getting in. So I'm just being a little bit cheeky, biding my time, knowing I have the numbers. Meanwhile, I get a devastating effect with my Grey Seer here, tearing through this line. My Rat Ogres are getting a lot of kills, so you can see me quickly climbing up the leaderboard. Ziva Hazard is really high up because he's starting to do a lot of damage against these expensive hell pits. Meanwhile, I'm going to be getting in on a bit of the action with my own Death Bombardiers, Death Glow Bombardiers, whatever they're called here. Tossing it in there. Accuracy is not super great, but it's okay. Anything I miss is going to hit the other forces. So we have 3 Skaven over here, and you can see my guys with spears waddling up into the combat. We'll see how this goes. Storm Vermin should be pretty good. Meanwhile, I'm going to position myself over on this flank, try and get around this side with more of these bombs, and try and shoot into the enemy. The center has been taken over. It's mine. Rat Ogres are going to retreat, having punched through the enemy, and I'm going to allow these Skaven to fight each other. Meanwhile, over here, Indy is throwing more guys against me. He does have his Death Glow Bombardiers trying to fire into my guys. He would have wished he'd had some of my own guys. These Poison Wind Glow Bombardiers are better against large units, whereas these are more anti-infantry. So firing into the Rat Ogre is not going to do super well, but I figured, hey, I'm going to disengage from this fight. I know I'm going to be kind of wanting to save my strength, so I'm going to pull out of that engagement and just push around the side with Skaven slaves. Meanwhile, the center here has been joined up with more Skaven slaves, beating back Indies. He's going to throw in some Storm Vermin with halberds, and this is going to be an excellent target for my Plague Monks. But I do want to try and tip the odds a little bit more in my favor. So you'll be seeing me reprioritize targets and maybe even try and get a nice charge against his guides here. Shatter a Storm Vermin with Sword and Shield here with a Slinger. So these guys are very awesome for helping to push back enemy infantry. Meanwhile, Indy was pulled off to the side with these Storm Vermin, and now I'm going to get a Sensor Bearer charge, skipping through here, doing a lot of damage. Ooh, look at this back here. Rats killing rats. Crazy stuff. So lots of summoning going on, lots of deaths. You can see the leaderboard is still going to be in Ziva Hazard. He's far and away taking the lead here, getting lots of kills, but still getting pretty well obliterated. So my goal is just to save my numbers. You can see units in the back going to be holding strong. Elite Storm Vermin, Sword and Shield for cleanup operations in the final stages of this fight. And I'm keeping this cluster of Rat Ogres alive and running and gunning, tearing through enemy units. I know I want to get to Indy's rear line. Meanwhile, over here, my flanking push is starting to get underway. I have these Poison Wind Globadiers finally positioned with some Storm Vermin with halberds, and they're just going to be looking over the wreckage of this fight. I was able to kill this Help Pit Abomination, so I'm pretty happy about this. And I'm cleaning up the rear. Clan Rats are going to try and get at the flank of my troops, but luckily I have my Storm Vermin here to turn and deal with them. And I'm going to pull out with my Poison Wind Glow Bombardiers and pull up on this formation and fire into them. So I'm pretty happy. Meanwhile, over here, devastating strike with my Grey Seer, charging into the enemy. I did raise a unit of Storm Vermin as his Death Glow Bombardiers were trying to get out of the fight, so that was a nice move. Skaven slaves, meanwhile, overrunning these positions, catching his other forces. So Indy here, you know, didn't get much damage done with these guys, and I was able to just tie them down with a lot of cheap units. And again, the Slingers being very useful. The Grey Seer here, an awesome mount to bring. My big blob in the center are going to be very useful, starting to move up. Over here, Rat Ogres continuing to tear through Storm Vermin. I'm going to go after high priority units that don't have halberds and just mass fight those guys, get them off the battlefield. Meanwhile, over here, more of my death bombs are going to be hitting a lot of these Storm Vermin, doing tons of damage. So I'm doing really well. In the back, a couple units were raised to try and deal with me, but I had just enough reinforcements, Skaven slaves as well, to reinforce to push that back. So slowly, my tide of Skaven is coming in. Rat Ogres are going to pull back, do a little bit of damage against these Storm Vermin, help shatter them. and I'm gonna have to watch out because Indy here is pulling up with the Grey Seer, hoping to get a triple lineup against my guys. Luckily I spotted that getting underway and I'm able to dodge it pretty much, just knocked a couple of my units, so that could have been a lot of damage. So he was kind of kicking himself in that engagement, and I'm gonna charge in with my rat ogres and try tie down his guy. Meanwhile, Slingers, completely unmolested with 16 kills, doing pretty good work, seeing off those death bomb globadiers, and now my healthy units are going to be coming into the back lines. This force completely obliterated, going to be coming back to try and deal with my guys. We'll see how this goes. They're going to be descending on my exposed units here. You know, my guys in the back have been busy chasing these clan rats. They really need to get back into the fight. Death Runner is going to be coming in, and so they're going to shatter these guys if they get into combat. So I have to come back with the Storm Vermin. My guys repositioning. Although more guys are going to come around, I think the enemy Skaven clans have realized that at this point I am the biggest threat, so they're all going to be turning against me. Over here, this force coming against my units. My big swarm, however, of rats on this flank. Lots of cheap units are going to come back and recommit. I don't know what I did about this build, but it was perfect. I had so many masses, and they were like jack of all trades. Probably wouldn't have dealt well with enemy artillery, but in this context, did really, really good. So they're going to come back and reinforce. Going to continue to get some spells off. Oh no, the enemy gets some spells off against my guys. Does a little bit of damage, but this Warlock Engineer is going to be targeted by my Poison Wind Globadiers. Doing pretty decent damage against him, and some of the shots are going to hit this Storm Vermin, who's coming to commit against my Storm Vermin. With Sword and Shield, these guys are beast, just destroying the enemy, so they should be able to hold up, although Queek is popping all sorts of abilities to try and get in here. More of my Storm Vermin are going to come in to deal with those guys. And on the left flank, the fight is continuing to go underway. My Rat Ogres have punched through, reinforced by my Screaming Bell, and this thing is excellent against Slingers and light troops. It just knocks units about. And over here, I'm swarming the enemy, so really getting a nice overrun position with lots of my units. Very happy with how this is going. And again, Slingers just being useful, finding a little pocket where they're not going to be intercepted, and firing into value units. Ooh, and there you go. I got a nice... you know, I don't know what to call it, a breath spell or a targeted spell, but anyways, really good stuff. Cleave through these guys, plus Slingers firing into here, and it really helped me in this engagement, force these guys back, and the Rat Ogre is going to come and seal the deal. It's all about liberating your pockets of infantry, bouncing these guys around, although Queek is going to pop in here and absolutely obliterate my force, tossing them everywhere. But like I said, one of the main things in Total War is when you're in late game engagements like this and you have mobile units, be it monsters or cavalry, what you want to do is ping pong. Don't stay in engagement too long. Just target the weakest enemy blob. You can see these guys are really low, and if I can shatter them, that's going to free up my infantry, which is going to free me up to target the next blob. And essentially what you're doing is you're liberating clusters of troops as you go down the line, getting bigger and bigger ranks to then, then mobilize to deal with other forces. On this front, the battle is underway. A lot of action going on here. I have a lot of numbers, but I'm getting super targeted by a lot of spells, and this enemy Grey Seer is going to come and commit, and he should be able to do a lot of damage. Luckily, I do still have some Poison Wind Globadiers who are firing into this Grey Seer. A lot of anti-large going to be getting off, but he is actually a pretty fast unit, and he should be able to catch up and kill my guys. And there you go, going to run over my dudes. It's too late to run, so he should be able to kill me, but here we're going to have my own Grey Seer coming after him, so this is going to be pretty funny. We're having a little bit of a Screaming Bell chase in this position. This is freaking hilarious. So there they go, man. He's making the escape. He's going to try and raise some Skaven to cover his retreat. So here they come springing up, but the chase is on. That's freaking hilarious. This is probably going to be my thumbnail. But yeah, so he's going to disengage. I'm going to chase after these clan rats, figuring that, hey, it's going to be at least a little bit of free kills. But meanwhile, he's making a beeline for the rear of my Skaven spears, and slowly he's been able to kind of wither away against my guys. I don't have that many sword troops, whereas he has some sword and shields. So that's kind of what are tipping things in his favor. And there he comes. This should seal the deal on this flank. So we can take a look at the score. He is at 1400, but I've been slowly getting my way up here, and I'm starting to take control of the battlefield. Center is still mine. I'm fighting some lords with my healthy storm vermin, so things are going pretty well. In the back, I still have some units running about. Plague Monk, Sister Bears, cleaning up the enemy forces, and I'm just trying to farm some kills around the extremities. Still got some slingers here that I'm going to chase after with some storm vermin, but I'm going to have to come back into the center because the enemy is starting to get pretty strong. Does get a spell off against these units. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But my lord here is at higher health, so he can posture against this Grey Seer and sort of force him out. So this is going to be an interesting engagement taking place with me chasing after him over the corpse of a Hell Pit Abomination. That's kind of funny. And we'll see if the enemy is going to duel. I know it looks like he's going to get on out of there. Ooh, actually, let me put pause. This is too good of a screenshot to miss with the... Yeah, there you go, with the setting sun. That is freaking awesome. There you go, that's freaking hilarious. You can see them yelling insults, taunting each other, and there you go. I do a little bit of a surge against him, but he's going to pull out. Going to get a breath spell against him and his units, tossing them to the ground. Oh my god, this is freaking hilarious. Should be its own minigame, Screaming Bell Battles. There you go, now we're going to get a bit of a duel. But he's going to be able to pull on out of there and continue to go after my guys. But I think at this point, with the lawnmower battles taking place, I'm going to start to eke up the points. He's sort of shattered, so now I can chase after him, and the points should be going in my favor. And with that, Ziva is knocked out. It's just going to be myself and Indy Pride. Indy still has Queek Headtaker somewhere, but now I am free with him knocked out to start to get some more kills. So here comes Indy Pride with Queek Headtaker. He's trying to represent, but he's just going to get run over by my guy. He's going to be cheeky enough to run him over completely, come back around. Queek is going to pick himself up, try and bounce him into my guy, but he gets absolutely tossed. And look at the field of units. One of those Skaven is going to pick himself up off the ground, shake his head, and try and get back into combat, but we'll see how this goes for him. I'm going to circle back, and he should be getting punted right through here. There you go, I'm revving it up. Yep, run over. But this is literally the last unit on the battlefield, and here come my slaves on all sides, going to take him down an ignominious death. Ooh, I say that, and then he tosses them all about, but they still come back in greater numbers, as they always do. And with that, Queek Headtaker is going to take off. I'm still below Ziva's score, so this is still pretty close. If I can do a lot of damage against Queek, things may start to go back in my favor. And I still have a lot of troops on the battlefield, so hopefully the end game resolution should go in my favor. And yeah, points 200 away, so I think I got this in the bag. Still raking up some kills against Queek. He doesn't have that much health left, so let's see if there's any more units that I am chasing down. Nope. Only a couple little units here, but there you go, with the end score being resolved as it is, myself having a lot of units left on the battlefield. The 200 extra deficit that I had, yeah, that was more than made up for by the extra bonus that you get from being the last man standing. So that was pretty cool. Let's end the replay, take a look at some of the final stats here, how things ended up. So the Hell Pit Abomination was an interesting build, but overall, 48 kills, really not doing too much. I mean, you can compare that to Skaven Slingers with 57 kills. Yikes. This build was super beneficial, and I don't know how I did it, how I managed to find a build that has such good value in this type of engagement. I mean, yeah, really good stuff. Put numbers on the board, and I think this is great. If the enemy doesn't have artillery, this roving band of rat ogres is absolutely necessary, and what you can do is you can actually pair them with some Skaven Slave Spears and Poison Wind Globomadiers, and this is great. This is a nice little trifecta. If the enemy throws swords at you, charge in with the rat ogres. If they charge in with their own rat ogres, you throw in the Skaven Slave Spears and the anti-large. If they throw in spears at you, well, then you can just kind of kite out and throw bombs at them. So maybe you throw a little bit of a sword unit in here, and you got a nice versatile core. And that's what my Plague Monk Cessor Bearers were doing. They were kind of popping around the battlefield. Anti-infantry with 142 kills, freaking awesome. Storm Vermin with halberds holding up pretty well, and the Sword and Shield variant doing really well. Even my Skaven Slaves, 51 and 37, pretty good, although that was mostly slaughtering enemy slaves. The MVP for this battle is going to be the Gracier with Plague, and I do think that the kind of the carriage mounts do end up playing very, very well against infantry. Just the way they disrupt and toss them about, even against enemy lords. You saw against Queek Headtaker, pound for pound, Queek might be able to take them if this was like, if it wasn't able to toss him about, but just that ability really seals the deal. You can take a look at Siva's force here. He focused on Death Runners and a lot of infantry, so he was hoping to just run over enemy forces. He didn't get that many kills, but a lot of the value I think he had was taking out those hell pits. That's how he raked in the points. And yeah, I had a lot of units left. Yeah, I killed most of the units, 1,700, so that was pretty freaking awesome. Oh, I ended up with 1,800, so let's nod off to that. Indy Pride's force here, and this is what I thought was interesting. Take a look at this. Compare the two forces. So he brought 7 of the Storm Vermin. I have 5, and then he has 2 slaves and 2 Deathglow Bombardiers. I have 2 just poison when glow bombardier. So pretty much kind of similar. He has one more storm vermin, a little bit more expensive death glow bombardiers, but in exchange for that, I mean, I brought a bunch more slaves. I brought 3 rat ogres, and yeah, so I would say my build would absolutely stomp this force here. You're just able to swarm around with the slaves, kite, hold, and the rat ogres with the versatility is something that I think Indy was missing out. It really prevented him from doing some of the opportunistic killing that they did in this engagement. Finally, we can look at David Daldridge. Oh no, we already looked at him. So yeah, not doing too well. But anyways, that's it for the Skaven Civil War. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I do expect to do more of these battles in the future, and I have definitely saved this build. It did wonders, and we'll see if it can handle it in future games. So that's it. Stay tuned for more, and I'll be definitely playing a lot more free-for-all. Speaking of free-for-all, CA has said that they're waiting to know how the community reacts to free-for-all before they invest more in it. So please go on over to the CA forums, the subreddit, do everything you can to say how much you enjoy free-for-all, and post suggestions across the forums, what you'd like to see, improvements, and definitely play some games. I know CA is definitely listening in, and everything you can do to support it right now will just feed into a better multiplayer experience, not only for this title, but future titles. So yeah, that's it. See you in the next one. Peace out.